Welcome to Bits of an Artist's Life. This is Sandy Hester. In this channel, you get bits of my life as an artist. This week's bit is looking at a supply that I bought quite a while ago and did not use much until a trip last year. They are the Daniel Smith Watercolor Sticks, and I've come to love these for travel and for hot weather. I'll tell you all about them in this video, but I wanted to dedicate a whole video because there's a lot of texture. I feel like these have a lot of different uses and varieties. Like they just kind of pack a punch for what you get. So what we're gonna do is color swatch. I'm gonna show you how I use them to get all kinds of texture. I've also found that I use them quite differently than most people do. So if you are interested in these or have some of these, you may find some new ways to use them. We're just gonna jump in and talk about these babies because I love them. I purchased some more for a trip that I have coming up this summer for Italy because I thought there's some colors there in the Italian landscape for the art retreat that I'm doing that I want to use some of these. So let's jump in. Okay, let's get started on our checklist of things to do, which the first one is color swatching. I am obviously not going to color swatch the white because that is just white. Also, the sketchbook that I'm using is a Moleskine. Its paper is very similar to the Royal Talon sketchbook, which a lot of us are very familiar with. And it's kind of a cream paper. Here is a white piece of paper right here, so you can kind of see the difference. It's not going to affect the color at all. Let's see, how do I want to swatch? We'll use a brush. So I think you will find through this whole thing that I will use these differently than most people. I'm gonna go back through after I swatch these and I'll put the name with them. I feel like I get a little bit more, like I know how much paint's going on there if I use my fingers, but I could tell you as I'm going along. So this is Buff Titanium. This is Hansa Yellow Deep. You can also see that I've got two different sizes. First handful of colors that I bought of these, I cut them in half so I could have some in the studio and then some in a to-go bag. I've since not been doing that for some reason. You'll be able to tell which ones are my new colors because they are full stick. Okay, this next one is Raw Sienna. This next one is Burnt Yellow Ochre. It's a really pretty reddish color. So obviously I'm swatching my warm colors first. This next one is Organic Vermilion. It is the perfect red. To me, it was just, I was so excited because I love an orangey red like that. It's like a really perfect lipsticky red. This is Opera Pink. This may seem like, wow, that is bright for you, Sandy. But I'm thinking like lips and cheeks for like figures. Then this next one is Quinacridone Burnt Scarlet. So these two are kind of similar, but this is so much more red-ish. This is more of a brownish. Really beautiful color. And then this next one is Burnt Umber. Nice brown. Just a good standard brown. Okay, then we're gonna move to the cool colors. I got a Phthalo Turquoise. I did not want 50 million colors. I really just wanted what I really thought that I would use because I didn't want to be carrying around a bunch of these sticks. This next one is Endothrone Blue, and I love this color. It's a little bit like French Ultra, but darker and maybe a little better. This next one is French Ultramarine, so I'll put those next to each other. You can tell the difference there. You can already see that these scratchy marks are the things that I love about these sticks and what you can do with them. This next one is Cerulean Blue, another beautiful color. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, but the reason I ordered some more of these was because I was thinking about my trip for the retreat that I'm doing, and I was just thinking about having some of these in my bag would be so good, some of these kind of ocean colors. Did I tell you what that one was? That one was Cobalt Teal Blue. This next one is Serpentine Genuine. That's a mouthful. This is such a nice kind of natural green though. And I also love this next one, Undersea Green. I bought this because it's one of my favorite colors in Daniel Smith, like watercolor, that I used to use quite a bit. And I just love two really good greens. This one's a little more yellow and it's lighter, and this is obviously a darker. Then this next color I use all the time. It's called Neutral Tint. It's really great for like a black, but it's got a little bit of a blue undertone to it. Okay, I got everything labeled and swatches down because I do want to wet them. I want you to see what they look like wet. Now, obviously, there's lots of ways that you can lay these down. I have a feeling some people are, I think one time when I showed these, somebody said, "You're using them wrong." I'm like, I kind of like using materials differently than what you're supposed to, but I definitely don't think there's any art material that you can use wrong. I put this right here is the Endothrall, but I wanted to put the French Ultra right next to it, so I kind of changed the order here. Oh, also the neutral tint didn't fit down here, so I had to put that up here. You can really see kind of a bluey purple undertone to that, which I really like. One of the other things I like, as you can tell, I like that when I use the stick, and I'll show you in a few minutes how I use the stick, and then when I go to wet it, I do like that it will sometimes stay, like most of it, some of it will stay, so you see the lines. I know some people will not like that, but I actually really like that. I do want to test on these paints. Actually, maybe we could do that right now. And then we'll let all of this dry, and I can turn the page, and then I'm gonna just like show you different ways that you can lay these paints down. But I wanted you to see what it looks like in this kind of nice texture when you put it down and then wet it. I just think they're gorgeous. I also added one more thing to our to-do list. I'm gonna show you these mixed with white because I do think that's important. But let me show you how I use these with other materials, because in my new class, Memories of the Landscape, Capturing Your Travels in Your Sketchbook, I use these kind of as mixed media. Like with my acrylics, I'm just painting with stuff and I'll grab these. So I wanted you to see how these sit over and will sit on other paints. So this is LIQUITEX acrylic. You could use any kind of acrylic, but I just wanted you to see. Is that the French Ultra? No, I wanted to use the French Ultra. I don't know why, I just thought that would be pretty. Okay. So they just sit beautifully on the paints. So I just wanted you to see that you could use them with acrylic paint. Now my LIQUITEX isn't crazy glossy. It's a little more like a satin. I think probably the more plasticky acrylics, sometimes the cheaper acrylics are a little more plasticky. It could resist a little, but you will also very likely get some interesting marks like that. Okay, now this is gouache. I mean, I think it's obvious that this is gonna go on top of gouache. So you could lay some water down, then go into it. I almost always am just using my finger, dabbing the end, and then I like the scratchy marks. That's what I love about this paint. That's just the way I like to use it. Either dry or just barely wet. But again, it works beautifully with gouache. Because gouache is water soluble, it's like watercolor, so you could blend that in also. Or even just like erase it. If you're like, oh no, I didn't like that. You could do it just like you do watercolor, just kind of wet it and dab, and you're gonna get some neat textures with that too. Let me show it to you kind of dry on there. I do love using it dry. I love that texture. And then this is acrylic gouache. So acrylic gouache is basically just like acrylic, except that it's matte. I'm sure you can guess that this is gonna go over this beautifully. I mean, it's just really wonderful. Sits wonderfully on it. Now, obviously, because these are watercolor sticks, these are going to dry, but you can re-wet them. But it's kind of like what I showed you here. Sometimes you'll still get the marks staying there. And then, of course, this goes on really nicely dry too. So I will often sketch with one of these or go back over my finished painting with it to get more, just kind of more marks, like dry marks. Okay, so this is how they sit. And what I think I'll do is Let's see, I feel like I should wet some of this so you can see what that does. This is a good example of how, like, I'm working that decently. I mean, I could work that enough where that would probably go away completely, but I do love how you still will see some of the marks. So I think what I'll do, I'm gonna take a break, let this dry. I'll also come back before we flip the page and start doing some other things. I'll show you what it looks like dried. I mean, this makes me wanna go paint just looking at that. Okay. Everything is dry. You can see the beautiful textures. Everything just dried gorgeous. You can see how it has laid on top of that acrylic, how it's laid on top of that acrylic gouache. Yeah, just really, really, really beautiful. You don't have to do this, put a piece of paper in between, but I'm going to, just in case things aren't completely dry, and in case I need to take like a picture. Oh, I meant to tell you this too. So here's the LIQUITEX that I used, the LIQUITEX paint. I mean, I used a different color than that. Here is the acrylic gouache I used. I did use this exact color, yellow ochre, Turner. And then I used this HOLBEIN gouache, yellow ochre. Next on our list is to show different textures you can get. This is going to be combined with how I use them. So whether I'm using my watercolor gouache palette or acrylics, whatever, I almost always do it one of two ways. If I've got to brush my hand and I'm just doing this, I will sometimes just do the tip, wet it, and then put a mark down. I love that texture. Or I'll stick my finger in the water, do the end, and I just can't get enough of that texture. I think that's why I like these so much, is because you can get that texture. It's different than the NEOCOLOR 2s. The NEOCOLOR 2s are so much smaller. Let me show you. So this is a NEOCOLOR. This is a NEOCOLOR 1, but they're the same size. You can see how much bigger this is. So I like that I have a bigger area for getting color down, a bigger swatch, you know. But I also like these edges because I can get a thinner mark. You can see, I mean, just how nice that is. So this is a newer stick. Let me find one of my older sticks and see if I can show you. Well, this one right here. So this is my neutral tint. You can see how the edge is worn because I'll use the edge to draw with, or to get, like, let's say if I'm gonna do an eye. Okay, so maybe I'm doing a tree. And yes, you kind of, I keep dipping because I like that dry mark that I can get. A lot of times my finger will just stay kind of wet. So I just love that very quickly I can have different sizes, but then I will also have stuff on my finger, okay? Then whether I'm using acrylic or paints, if I go over that, see how it's still kind of staying? Now I'm just going lightly over it, but I really like that. It just kind of, I don't know, that's just the way I just love that. I can't really even put it into words, can I? I'm like mumbling around. It's one of the qualities I like. I don't use them like watercolors very often, like, you know, painting with it. Like, people like to chop these up and put them in their pans. I like a mark, and I like to use these in that way. Let's see, how else? So, like, most of these colors I have on my palette. I don't have all of them, though. I don't have something like this. So, you know, I could I'm like, ooh, I need that color, then I could use it, just like, you know, it's fine if I dip this into this. You know what I mean? That's what I guess I'm trying to say. I don't know. I'm just saying you could use it like watercolor. So maybe if I was doing a face, and I did just want a tiny bit of that pink, first off, I could just dip right into here and then use it like a watercolor. So you could totally do that. But what I like to do is use this for I do like to draw, and so I feel like this gives you that ability. So this is all still slightly damp. What color is this? Let's use this color. Oh, I guess that's another way. Let me show you this real quick too before I forget. So maybe you could wet an area and then you could, you know, really get that down big time if you did that. And again, look at those marks that you can get. Now, let's say you don't like the marks. Well, you can get rid of the marks. Well, I guess it does kind of leave that texture. I guess to not have the marks, you'd have to dip it like that. So that's one of the ways. Let me finish. I feel like I need to finish off my lady. Let's give her some hair. You could dip it just straight into the water too. I don't tend to do that because I want to control it a little more, and I do like to use my fingers. Just a finger person. So okay, here's so I'm gonna just wet the edge. That was a little too wet, and give her some eyeballs. So I guess you can kind of see how that works. I feel like now I can't stop, you know what I mean? It's like once you get me going. So that's how I use it. I actually feel like she could use a little bit pinker cheeks. Ooh, probably messing her up now. You know how with watercolor, if you go in too much, while it's still too wet. There is that. I did forget, I never used this method, but I liked that method of like, just kind of spraying. I think that could be good for, and then wetting the area, or kind of moving that water around. Yeah, like if I was gonna do a sky. Why don't we do this while we're here too? Wet that white in here. I'm gonna just dip that white. And see, for me, then I would probably dip my fingers in it and do it like this, smush that around. I'm gonna get your fingers in. This paper is kind of ruffling a little more than some of my other sketchbooks. I don't really mind that because to me it just adds texture. Let me show you this though, one of the things I love about these two. Can you see how I've got, let's see, where are you? I've got a little blue on there. So that's also nice if you've got white, because then when you move that down, I really like the color that it transfers. I don't worry about that. The other thing I like to do a lot, I came across this on accident in my new class that I've got out because I was working really fast out on location, and let's say I've got some color mixed here. Let's see, how did I do this? Oh yeah, sometimes this is kind of nice. Let's say you've got a puddle of color here. You can put it there and mix it that way also. Like sometimes I'll pick up I think I usually do it with the white though, is what I do. How do I do it? I'm so intuitive with the way I do it. Yeah, I think I usually get it on my finger and we'll do that with the white. You could even just stick your finger straight into the watercolor, dip it in the, do that, you know, to get more texture. So I'll do that sometimes. Let's say I've got like a boat. Let's just draw the boat. This is how I would do it. Let's just draw the boat, and maybe it's like a white boat, but I don't want it like white because that's gonna look, I don't know, chalky, right? So you could use this to still have a white, but get some nice texture on that boat too. Just whatever's on your palette. And then if I was using these, maybe then I would use my, what is that? That's undersea. I wanted my neutral tint. Put my windows in there and maybe whatever else. Let's give them a little buoy and some water around him. And just grabbing whatever I've got as far as blues. And look what great water texture. And then get your fingers in there a little. get some more like little, ooh, you know how they'll have stuff like that. Do you see what I mean? How you can like draw back over? So like, is this dry yet? No, what's dry? Okay, that right there is dry. So then if I was gonna go back over, like let's say I'd drawn something, I can go back over that with my stick to get some dry marks, which I really, really like that. The reason I bought these is because I was editing our class that's out. I'm going to be like officially launching it the next video, but I was editing videos and I was using my sticks a lot in those videos, like putting marks down for like, you know, the sky or something. And I was like, man, I have to have some more of those for my, sorry, I'm like playing now and it's hard to think. For my art retreat in Italy. So that's why I bought several extra colors, because I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have something for the water and sky and stuff. I really, really like how you can get your fingers in. I just, yeah, I like getting fingers into stuff. I've already got this blue, so let's make it into a green. So I could even just do it like that, right? Let me do it over here now, show you a different way. You could put it down like that and then mix it, and you're gonna have some texture there. Maybe I wanna neutralize that just a little bit, so I'm gonna put a little red in there. If you wanted to make an orange, oh, that had some green, some blue on it. So you can definitely mix, or you could, you know, just mix like this. Like when I travel, I'm definitely going to be taking these. I'm going to take this and these because I can get away with that on the plane. Okay, so you can see right here, mixing, but that's using them just like watercolor. I think that's what makes me feel a little bored about it. I want to be able to, you know, mix them like this. And then maybe get my finger in there with it. So I don't have a purple, so I could mix this Opera Pink and my French Ultra. And then look at that beautiful purple. And then if I want to add some white, I mean, how gorgeous is that? Look how thick paint that looks, like gouache. To me, this is basically like a gouache stick. Now see, I've got purple on there already. See, this is what I mean by them being able to use that. Okay, I think what I want to do now is mix all of these with the white so you can see what that looks like. So I'm gonna let this dry. We'll flip the page and do some more. Okay, let's check these colors now with white. I've switched sketchbooks. I thought let's do it on a different sketchbook and one that has white paper. This is the Stillman and BIRN Alpha series. Pretty smooth paper. And we'll just test these with white. We'll swatch them, not test them, swatch them. So I'm gonna do it the way I would do it, which is just stick my finger like this and then either stick my finger or I'm gonna clean them off. Some of these got a little dirty. Like, I mean, I guess I could keep adding white to that. A little down. You can see how that just, it's basically like using gouache, like white gouache, which I do often carry white gouache with me. Well, I have it in my palette also, right here. Whoops. Right here. So it's nice to have it in a different form that I can just squish around. It comes out nice too. It's kind of thick and gouache-y. Not thick, but it just has a gouache feel to it compared to some of these others. And you can see how chalky it makes it. So like if I didn't want to waste that and just wanted a lighter color, see how you can do that? This is burnt yellow ochre right here. I think I've gotten things a little out of order. I normally would never clean this in between, but I'm doing it so we'll have some clean samples. This one is the quinacridone burnt scarlet. This one's the burnt umber. Now I'm gonna tell you something, these are not cheap. And I understand that. So just buy one or two. Maybe you just want to buy like the white. Maybe you don't keep white on your palette. But I will also tell you, I think it's not a bad price for what you get, because it's really, this is artist grade, and also they just last a long time. They don't run down like a NEOCOLOR does from using it. They just last and last. I mean, there's part of me, I think one day I thought, will I ever have to buy any of these ever again? Okay, this is the cerulean blue. The one right here was the cobalt teal blue. Just feel like you get a lot for your money. The other thing is, oh, I can't believe I'm just now mentioning this. Here's an even bigger difference between these and like NEOCOLORs or NEOCOLOR ones. They're gonna hold up better in the heat because this is just a big block of dried paint. They're not like waxy like a NEOCOLOR. Okay, that color right there was, I'm not doing a good job telling you, phthalo turquoise. This next one is French Ultra. So I'll be able to take these like when it's hot in Italy and not have to worry about meltage, or like then when I grab it, it just smushes in my hand because it's, you know, gotten all melty. So that to me is a big plus. Okay, this was French Ultra. This was Enderthrone Blue. This next one is the Serpentine Genuine. Why is that word hard for me to say? I actually end up using the Titan's Buff more than I do a white. I don't use white a lot in anything because it always is going to make stuff chalky, which you can see that under sea green. So if you can lighten a color, I feel like this has been really gritty. Oh, it's the package. I've got to tear that off. That's what's been going on. That's what's been giving me trouble. The package is, not the package, was that the wrapper? I knew there was something going on. Okay, there we go. Oof, yeah, look at that. That's so pretty. That was the undersea green. Okay, what is this, neutral tint? Oh, I know what I was saying. I hardly ever use white, so I use that buff titanium for my white a lot. Okay, so say I've got a little bit left. So then if I wanted to make like a rain cloud, you know, it's just so nice. So let me do a couple of these with my buff titanium to show you. Let's do this really bright pink. I feel like if you can use something that actually has some color in it, it just is a lot better. I mean, that is already so much more interesting than that. That was the opera pink. This is the burnt yellow ochre. It just gives it a little boost, a little bit of color that's not so flat. Let's try it with the phthalo turquoise. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Oh, that texture. Now, let's say you mixed it like that, then wanted to, maybe we should do this to some of them so you can see what it does. Like then if you used your brush, you know. That is so pretty. Okay, we are done with this. What I want to do though, before we say farewell, is also, I find myself with these sticks being a little careful. I think it's because when I buy them at first, I'm just reminded of how expensive they are because I buy so many all at once, and then I feel like I need to be careful with them. I think some of these may have broken in the shipment, but I can't really tell. I think that they kind of look handmade also, so I don't know if they're handmade or just broken, but this wrapper is real sticky. It's kind of what's nice about it, so it's gonna hold it together. But I think, let's see, this is what I'm trying to say. I think these are a little more tough than what I'm giving them credit for. I think I'm just being a little careful. That will be gone very shortly because I'll forget how, you know, expensive they were. So I think that's kind of nice too, having something that's like really nice and sturdy. Okay, so here's the colors. You can see this, how nice and pastel-y, but look how much better these colors are down here with the buff titanium. I think just so much better. In fact, I want to see what that burnt umber looks like with the buff. Oh no, here we go. I'm always like, oh, we're gonna wrap up now. And then I just keep on going. So this is normally how I would do it, is dip, dip. Can you tell? I don't know if you can see. I really want you to see how it's a slight difference, but this just has a little more life to it than this. I mean, even on my palette, this right here is a buff titanium. It's all dirty, so you can't see it. very well. But I dip in it far more than my white, which is also quite dirty. I did find on the trip that we filmed in the new class that I really liked also when I was using these with my acrylics. Here, let me grab some acrylic. I've got a palette from where I was just painting. I liked, like, if I had a painting going on that was still wet, like let's say that was something, I did not mind at all dipping this into that paint. I know that this is like acrylic paint, which if that dries, it's gonna dry hard, but that was fine, and I liked how, well, that didn't work, because all you'd have to do later is just wipe that off. It's just not a big deal. I didn't try to keep them clean at all, and it was just fine. I don't know why I'm even cleaning it off now. I just know that could make some of y'all nervous. I liked like being able to pick up some of this too. Like sometimes I would just, you know, pick it up. So I'm trying to find, I thought I had more paint on here. It was just a nice way to kind of mix some color, to take it, put it on there, and then form it around. So if you are interested in like literally watching me out in the field paint with these, you can check it out on my new class, because I do use these quite a bit. I know some people talk about like letting these sit in water and then using them. For me, I would not like that, because I would not have the scratchiness. A lot of times even just dipping them for too much in that is too much for me. I don't know. Okay, wow, that was super fun. I always enjoy doing this kind of thing, just playing and seeing what things do and what they look like. And I love when I end a session and my fingers are a complete mess. So you can see, like, they just dry true to color too. Look at that texture. See how all this dried when we went back over the sticks? It just left that texture there. Oh, I think I wanted to show you, so this is completely dry. Oh my goodness, this is so me. We're gonna wrap up the video and then I'd like just keep going. But I wanted to show you, let's do it with a better color, how you can then go back over it. That one got a little, ooh, let's make an eyeball. This paper's doing weird stuff. Was it already kind of, yeah, maybe it was, it's doing a little weird. I don't know what's going on there. But I like that I can go back over, there we go, to get more texture. Let's say I've gotten like too swooshy and too much of my texture gone, then I can go back over. Oh, I wanted to show you this. I was taking just a few minutes at the end of the day, the other day, and did a very quick sketch. Let me move all this out of the way. And I just painted with my gouache palette here and these watercolors. These watercolor sticks, and I did this. It's the end of the day. I'm sitting here sketching. I decided I just needed a break from computer work. I wanted to sit and sketch, and I just wanted to do something simple. I'm using, which sketchbook? Stillman and BIRN Alpha Series sketchbook. I pulled up a picture from England, and I decided I just want to paint in my watercolor gouache palette using my sticks, my Daniel Smith sticks. As I just sketched this using my Daniel Smith watercolor stick, the Raw Sienna, and I really liked that experience. So what I do is I will have some water sitting here. I'll dip my finger in the water and then just put it on the edge like that, and then just draw until like it stops being scratchy. But you can even see, like right now, I have no water on it, and it will still like draw, see? And I just really love those scratchy marks. It's what I love most about these sticks. You can see here, I dipped it in water quite a bit, but then I just stopped and I get these scratchy marks. So you can see how I use the scratchiness. Did I do anything else in this one? No, like I did do another one recently, but this was just kind of an example. So like I would go back over in the clouds. You can see I sketched out the whole thing with this yellow ochre. Is that what it's called? No, Raw Sienna. Oh, I am missing a color. I knew I was missing one. This purple, okay, what a bummer. I'm gonna come back and show you that. I knew I had some missing. We'll see if I can find more. Oh, hold on. Man, I just tore the house apart. I was like, oh man, but I found it. This is lavender, and I did not like this when I first got it. As I've used it, I really like it. It's a very handy color. So I'm gonna swatch it right here. It's called Lavender. I did really like it. Okay, let's do our lavender and white that I forgot. Go back and add it to this page. Wow, my water is really dirty. So there's the lavender with the white. And why don't we do the lavender with the buff? Such a nice neutral kind of color. I also want to do the lavender like this for you because I didn't do that in this page. One of the things I wanted to mention at the end of this video, there's one negative. I can't remember if I mentioned any other negatives in this video about these. I don't think I did, but probably to me the biggest negative is that the dark colors look the same. Like you can't just look at it and tell. I'm always having to like read the name. It's not that big of a deal. There's other materials that are like that, but I think if I was going to say one negative, it would be that. So I thought that would be worth mentioning, before we wrap up the video. So there's my one negative. That is it for this week. I hope that you found this enjoyable. Don't go crazy if you are like feeling like, oh no, I would like some of these, and you're like, tight budget. I would pick out like one color, a color that you know that you like to sketch with the most, or maybe even just the white. If you do like a white, or the buff even, that would even be a good one to add if you don't have maybe that watercolor, a buff color. Don't go crazy, just buy one or two because you may not like them. I feel like this is something that you either love or you hate, and I didn't love them at first, and I don't know why I started loving them, but that's usually how I work. I'll find something, and if I say I don't like it, then I come back on in like a month or two and I'm like, no, I love this. That is it for this week, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye.